Hi friends, it's Brianna from Brianna's Bookshelf and welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna be doing a super fun video. I don't know about you all, but I have gotten super into perfume in the past year. I actually never used to be a perfume wearer at all, like maybe a little bit of body spray, you know, your scented deodorant, that was it. Because I'm not a big fan, I feel like, of a lot of the really classic popular perfumes. But in the past year, I really got sucked into perfume videos on TikTok and here on YouTube. And it really opened up my eyes to all these different perfumes I didn't know existed. And I've gotten super into trying different ones and seeing what type of perfume I like. And of course, my main love and hobby that I like to talk about on this channel is reading and books. But I thought I would bring in some of that perfume interest that I've been having lately. So today we're going to be doing, if you like this perfume, I think you should read this book. So I've seen people do similar videos with if you like this movie, read this book. But yeah, we're gonna mix it up and we're gonna do, if you like or wear this perfume, this is the book that I think you should read. So without further ado, let's get on into it. Okay, starting off with a classic perfume that probably a lot of you have smelled before, Burberry Her. I have just this little teeny bottle I got in one of those Sephora sampler sets a while back. And I have only used a little bit. As you can see, this is not my favorite preference of perfume, but I do think it's a fun smell. The top notes of Burberry Her are strawberry, raspberry, blackberry, sour cherry, blackcurrant, mandarin orange, and lemon, so tons of fruit. The mid is violet and jasmine, and the base is musk, vanilla, cashmere, woody notes, amber, oak moss, and patchouli. And when I smell Burberry Her, I get just something really fruity. There is an airiness to it. To me, this kind of almost smells like a fruity cotton candy. But as it wears, it dries down to something a little bit ambery and a little bit deeper. But overall, I feel like a girl who wears Burberry Her is just very girly, loves a sweet fruity fragrance, is maybe kind of bubbly or outgoing. So the book that I would recommend to go with Burberry Her is When We Lost Our Heads by Heather O'Neill. And the reason that I would recommend this is because one of the main characters in this book, her name is Marie, and her father owns a sugar factory in 19th century Montreal. And as the book opens up, she's so girly. She is kind of spoiled and a little bit naughty in some ways. And she just is so used to getting whatever she wants. And she has to have all the perfect lavish dresses, always all of these wonderful sweets from her dad's factory. But as the book goes on, there's definitely a deeper story. We're following kind of her interactions and relationship with this other girl that she grew up with who ends up in a completely different life situation than her. And I think this is a really well written book. I annotated it. There's lots of amazing quotes. It just really explores female friendships and female relationships really well, which I think is a really good representation of Burberry Her, seeing as I think it smells so feminine and fruity and fun. It really reminds me of this book. Okay, the next perfume I'm going to talk about is Glossier You. Now, I don't actually own the original version, but I do own the newer Glossier You Dew, so I'm just going to hold this one up for the bottle even though it's a different scent. But for Glossier You, the notes are iris, pink pepper, ambroxan, and ambrette. So it's this kind of molecular, your skin but better fragrance. Yeah, it kind of sits close to the skin and it's just your skin but a little bit something more. And to me, Glossier You makes me think of Normal People by Sally Rooney, because I feel if you like to wear Glossier You, you're probably a lover of literary fiction. It just really feels like that kind of vibe. And I think that Sally Rooney has a beautiful writing style that would really resonate with a wearer of Glossier's You. And I also feel like the main character in this book, Marianne, she is like not that into like dressing up, or she's like kind of introverted and she's very smart. I really feel like she would be aware of Glossier You. I think that she would enjoy kind of like that understated but elegant, like your skin but better kind of fragrance. And in case you don't know, Normal People is following Marianne and Connell, and they go to high school together, and we're following their kind of relationship, which is not quite fully a relationship with them, just kind of how they interact. And it follows them past high school and into college and how they come together and apart, and it's just a beautiful story. Next, for a perfume that I do not own, is Yves Saint Laurent's Black Opium. So for Black Opium, the top notes are pear, pink pepper, and orange blossom. The mid notes are coffee, jasmine, bitter almond, and licorice. And the base notes are vanilla, patchouli, cashmere wood, and cedar. So I feel like Black Opium is always described as this kind of sweet coffee vanilla fragrance that's kind of sexy in a way and like a little bit dark and deep. So kind of going off of that idea of it being like sexy and dark a little bit, I would recommend Aware of Black Opium to read A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. So A Dowry of Blood is like a reimagining of Dracula, and it's talking about Dracula's wife. And we follow her like throughout her life as she becomes Dracula's wife, and then her relationship living with him in his castle and his other consorts, and how they all kind of go through life together. And this is another one with really gorgeous writing. It's definitely dark, it's sexy, there's some like spicy scenes in here, but it's also not necessarily a happy romance. There is like abuse like in these relationships. There are really complicated relationships between all these different characters, and it definitely has like that dark gothic vibe. And so I think that that kind of dark gothic but a little bit sexy would fit Black Opium really well. So another perfume that I do not own is Ariana Grande's Cloud perfume. So Cloud has top notes of lavender, pear, bergamot, middle notes of whipped cream, coconut, praline, and vanilla orchid, and base notes of musk and woody notes. So to me, Cloud is like this super sugary, sweet fragrance. And to me personally, I kind of get this like synthetic kind of plasticky note to it that kind of reminds me a little bit of like a doctor's office or like latex gloves kind of. I don't know what it is. That may sound negative, but I actually kind of like it. So I think that syntheticness is kind of like addictive in a weird way about that fragrance. And so what that really brought to mind for me is my favorite book of all time, Bunny by Mona Awad. Because in this book, we're following Samantha, who is in a writing program at her liberal arts college. And the other girls in her program are this like tight-knit clique of really girly girls who all call each other Bunny. So they don't refer to each other by their first names. They just all refer to each other as Bunny. And this friend group is very cult-like and behaves in this way that's very strange to Samantha until she starts to get invited to their private gatherings, their smut salons, and she kind of starts to become friends with them and get a little bit more appealed to this way of life that they have. So to me, this reminds me of Cloud because Cloud is so like sugary, sweet, and girly, which really matches with the bunnies. They are all, I mean, they have different personalities. Some of them have different styles, but overall they definitely act like this like really girly clique. And then that like kind of plasticky note that's kind of off-putting but also addictive that I was describing also really reminds me of the bunnies because like I was describing, they're kind of like culty and off-putting, but they're also so like sugary sweet that people like them, but they're also just like weird that people don't quite know what's up with their vibe. So yes, I think those pair together really well. Then if you like Maison Margiela, Replica by the Fireplace, this is a like kind of sweet and smoky fragrance. by the Fireplace has top notes of cloves, pink pepper, and orange blossom, and it has middle notes of chestnut, guaiac wood, and juniper. And it has base notes of vanilla, Peru balsam, and cashmere. So again, it's just like this very sweet vanilla, but with kind of like this smoky sexiness to it. Definitely smells like a little bit like a fire, but also kind of like sweet and marshmallowy. And this is actually a pretty unisex fragrance. So this is actually my boyfriend's bottle that he wears, but I really like the smell of this, and sometimes I wear it too. It just smells so good. It really smells like fall, and like, yeah, you're cozying up by the fire, maybe making some roasted marshmallows. It's just really good. But yes, if you like By the Fireplace, I think you should read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. So The Secret History is following this group of friends at this small private college who study classics, and they are all like very obsessed with classics. Like they're constantly quoting different classical books, talking about Greek literature. They learn these different languages, and they're practicing like Latin and Greek languages, and definitely have this kind of old money vibe. And it also, a lot of it takes place during like fall and winter at this college where it's very cold. The students are bundled up in sweaters and jackets, and they're going into their dorms or into their apartments and all like getting together to study and drinking like their cognac and rum out of these expensive bottles, and like smoking cigarettes. So all of that just honestly really reminds me of By the Fireplace. And I wouldn't necessarily call this book sweet, but there's definitely a darkness to it. Yeah, there's just like a darkness and kind of like group think that's a little bit evil about this friend group, and they do some really questionable things, and they do some more questionable things to hide that questionable thing. So I think that it really fits the By the Fireplace vibe, and I would personally love this fall to reread this book and spray myself with By the Fireplace and sit by my TV with the fireplace thing playing on YouTube and just enjoy that snuggly dark feeling. All right, so the last perfume I'm going to talk about today is actually a body mist, but this is a really popular one, so you probably heard of it. This is Sol de Janeiro's Cheirosa 62. And this one, the top notes are pistachio and almond. The middle notes are heliotrope and jasmine. And the base notes are caramel, vanilla, salt, and sandalwood. So to me, this is a really nostalgic scent. Like this is one I wore even before I got into perfumes a few years ago. It's definitely super sweet. It's like very caramely, kind of a caramel nuttiness to it. And it also really reminds me of summertime. I think maybe it's like the salt note in here and maybe the jasmine, though I don't really pick that up, but it is really giving me this like kind of youthful, sunny, just like sweet energy. And what that reminds me of is Heartstopper. So I've got Heartstopper Volume 1 as my recommendation if you like Cheirosa 62. So this is, of course, a graphic novel about Nick and Charlie, two boys in high school, and their blossoming romance. This is truly just the sweetest graphic novel I've ever read. I have still only read the first two in this series, and I think there's 5 out and maybe more coming out. I would definitely recommend this so much. It's just the sweetest story. Definitely gives me like all the youthful vibes there in high school. It's such a sweet and wholesome book. And it just like really brings a smile to your face, which is kind of what Cheirosa 62 does for me as well. So the two really remind me of one another. So that is it for all the perfume and book recommendations I have for you today. Let me know down below what you thought of this. If this is something that y'all thought was interesting or fun, I could definitely continue this series. I feel like I try to basically talk about like more designer perfumes you might find at Sephora or Ulta in this video. But if y'all are interested, I can do another one talking more about some niche perfumes. So just let me know, and thanks everyone so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!